They say the truth will set you free. But what they don't tell you is how long you'll be imprisoned by someone else's lies first. I spent 17 years being the villain in a story I never wrote. My sister painted me as angry, reckless, dangerous. And my family believed her. Every single time. I defended myself until my voice ran dry, until even I started to wonder if maybe I was the problem. But I wasn't. She was. And the day her lies finally caught up to her, I learned something unexpected. Revenge doesn't heal you. Truth does. But only when you stop waiting for it to come from the people who hurt you. Welcome to my Reddit diaries, where every story reveals the unseen battles within families. Don't forget to subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? I was 12 the first time my sister lied about me. I remember it because it was the week before Christmas, and our house smelled like cinnamon and pine. My mother's heirloom vase, the one her grandmother brought over from Ireland, sat on the mantel like it always did. Blue glass with white flowers etched into the surface. She only brought it out during the holidays. I came home from basketball practice to find my parents standing in the living room. The vase was shattered on the hardwood floor. My mother was crying. My father's jaw was tight. Vanessa stood behind them, her arms crossed, her eyes red. My dad looked at me. Just looked. And I knew. I didn't do it, I said. Your sister says different. I turned to Vanessa. She was 2 years younger than me, 10 years old, with the kind of face that made adults trust her instantly. White eyes. Soft voice. I saw him, she said quietly. He was mad because Mom said he couldn't go to Jake's house. He threw his backpack and it hit the vase. I wasn't even here, I said. Coach had us run drills until 5:30. Call him. But my mother wasn't listening. She was staring at the broken glass like it was her whole childhood on the floor. 2 weeks. Grounded. No basketball. No friends. I sat in my room that December and learned something that would follow me for years. It doesn't matter what actually happened. It matters what people believe happened. I found out the truth years later by accident. Vanessa let it slip during an argument when I was 19. She'd had friends over when our parents weren't home. One of them knocked the vase off the mantel. She panicked. And I was the easy answer. But at 12, all I knew was that my sister had looked our parents in the eye and made me the villain. And it worked. 3 years later, money went missing from my father's wallet. $120. He kept it in his jacket pocket, hung by the door. He noticed it was gone on a Thursday. That night at dinner, Vanessa said, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but Marcus has been acting kind of weird lately. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. How? My mother asked. I don't know. Just different. He's been hanging out with those guys from the skate park. I wasn't even home yesterday, I said. I was at school late for the science project. Mrs. Chun can confirm it. But the seed was planted. My father looked at me differently after that. Not angry. Worse. Disappointed. Like he was waiting for me to become the person Vanessa said I was. The money turned up a week later in the laundry, still in my dad's jeans. No apology. Just a quiet relief that maybe I wasn't a thief. But the doubt never fully left. That's the thing about accusations. Even when they're proven wrong, they leave a stain. The worst one came when I was 17. Vanessa and I had an argument. I don't even remember what it was about. Something stupid. Borrowing a charger or using the last of the milk. We yelled. I left. I went to my friend Dev's house and stayed there until midnight playing video games. When I came home, my parents were waiting in the kitchen. My mother's face was pale. My father stood with his arms crossed. Vanessa sat at the table, an ice pack pressed against her upper arm. We need to talk, my dad said. About what? Vanessa says you pushed her. I stared at him. Then at her. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking down, her shoulders curled inward like she was trying to make herself small. I didn't touch her. She has a bruise, Marcus. Then she got it somewhere else. I left right after we argued. I didn't push anyone. My mother's voice was quiet. Why would she lie? And that was it. That was the question I could never answer in a way that satisfied them. Why would she lie? What reason could she possibly have? So I became the one with anger issues. I had to see a counselor twice a week. Mrs. Palmer, a woman with wire-rimmed glasses who asked me how I felt and nodded like she already knew the answer. The bruise, I learned much later, came from a party Vanessa snuck out to. A party our parents didn't know about. A party where she drank too much and fell against a table. She needed a cover story. And once again, I was it. Do you know what it's like to defend yourself so many times that even you start to wonder if you're the problem? To see your parents look at you with caution instead of love? To hear your name whispered at family gatherings, followed by concerned glances? I learned to stay quiet. To make myself smaller. To avoid conflict at all costs because any conflict could be twisted into proof that I was exactly who she said I was. Vanessa, meanwhile, was perfect. Right? Social. Charming. She got lead roles in school plays. She volunteered at the animal shelter. Teachers loved her. Our parents beamed with pride. And me? I was the problem they managed. At 19, I left for college 3 states away. It was supposed to be freedom. A clean slate. But the damage came with me. I struggled to trust people. I explained myself before anyone even asked. I waited for the moment they'd turn on me, because in my experience, they always did. Vanessa called sometimes. Casual. But like nothing had ever happened. Hey, can you send me $50? I'm short on rent. Did you see the dress I posted? I'm thinking about wearing it to Sarah's wedding. She asked for favors. I gave them. Because that's what family does, right? 7 years passed like that. I built a life. Got a job in software development. Made a few close friends who I never talked to about my family. Started seeing a therapist who helped me understand that the voice in my head telling me I wasn't enough didn't actually belong to me. Then 2 months ago, my phone rang. Marcus, honey, I have some news. Her voice was bright. Excited. Your sister's engaged. Derek proposed last weekend. We're having an engagement party next Saturday. We'd really love for you to be there. I stood in my apartment, looking at my reflection in the darkened window. I told myself I'd forgiven her. That I'd moved on. But forgiveness without truth isn't peace. It's just silence. And I'd been silent for 17 years. Yes, I'll be there. I hung up, stared at my phone. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself feel the anger I'd buried. Next Saturday, I'd go home. I'd smile. I'd congratulate her. I'd play the role of the supportive brother. But standing there in the quiet of my apartment, I had no idea that this visit would unravel everything. That the perfect life my sister had built was held together by the same fragile thread as every lie she'd ever told. I thought I was going home to celebrate her happiness. Instead, I walked into the moment her entire world would collapse. The house looked exactly the same. White shutters. Red door. The maple tree in the front yard where Vanessa and I used to climb as kids. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I could make myself go inside. Through the window, I could see people moving around. Laughter. Music. The warm glow of celebration. I didn't belong there. I knew that. But I went anyway. My mother answered the door and pulled me into a hug that lasted too long. I'm so glad you came, she whispered. Inside, the house was full. Relatives I hadn't seen in years. Family friends. And in the center of it all, Vanessa. She wore a cream-colored dress and her hair was perfect. Her fiancé, Derek, stood beside her with his arm around her waist. He was tall, clean-cut, the kind of guy who probably had a 401k and a gym membership. He smiled easily. Laughed at the right moments. They looked happy. The kind of happy you see in commercials. Vanessa saw me and her smile faltered. Just for a second. Then she recovered and waved me over. Marcus. You made it. Wouldn't miss it, I said. Derek extended his hand. Marcus. I've heard so much about you, man. I'm Derek. His handshake was firm. Genuine. I felt a pang of something I couldn't name. Pity maybe. Vanessa talks about you all the time, he continued. Says you two are working through some old stuff. I think it's great, you know? Family's everything. I looked at Vanessa. She was staring at her wine glass. Yes, family's everything. I looked at Vanessa. She was staring at her wine glass. Yes, family's everything. The party moved around us. People congratulated the couple. My father made a toast about love and commitment. My mother cried happy tears. And I watched Vanessa. I really watched her. She smiled and laughed and thanked everyone, but there was something off. Something beneath the surface. Her eyes looked tired. When she thought no one was looking, her face would go blank. Empty. I recognized that look. I'd worn it for years. Later, during dinner, Vanessa told a story about volunteering at a hospital. How she'd spent time with sick children and it had changed her perspective on life. People nodded, murmured appreciation. But Derek's face flickered with confusion. Just for a moment. I didn't know you volunteered at a hospital, he said lightly. That's amazing. Oh, it was just a few times, Vanessa said quickly. Nothing major. She changed the subject. Seamlessly. Effortlessly. And that's when I saw it. The pattern. The same pattern she'd used on our family for years. Derek mentioned her marketing job. She smiled and nodded but didn't elaborate. When my aunt asked about her company, Vanessa gave vague answers and pivoted to talking about wedding plans. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. After dinner, I found myself alone in the kitchen with Derek. He was loading plates into the dishwasher. Big day, I said. The biggest. He smiled. I'm lucky, man. Your sister's incredible. I nodded slowly. How long have you two been together? 1.5 years. Met at a friend's barbecue. He laughed. She spilled a drink on me and somehow it was the most charming thing I'd ever seen. That sounds like her. He closed the dishwasher and leaned against the counter. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think she's okay? I looked at him. What do you mean? I don't know. She's been stressed lately. Says it's the wedding planning, but sometimes I feel like there's something else. Something she's not telling me. Have you asked her? Yeah. She says everything's fine. He ran a hand through his hair. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Pre-wedding jitters, right? Maybe. But I didn't believe that. And from the look on his face, neither did he. Late that night, after most of the guests had left, I found Vanessa in the kitchen. She was standing at the sink, wine glass in hand, staring out the window at nothing. "Hey," I said softly. She jumped. "Marcus. I thought you'd left." "Not yet." She turned back to the window. The silence stretched between us. "Vanessa, what's going on?" "Nothing. I'm fine." "You don't look fine." Her shoulders tensed. "You wouldn't understand, Marcus. Try me." She laughed, but it was bitter. "Empty. You never had to be perfect. You got to just be you. Even when they thought the worst of you, you still got to be yourself. And whose fault was that?" She flinched. Her hand tightened around the wine glass. "You made me the villain so you could be the hero," I said quietly. "Every time you messed up, you pointed at me. And now what? You're doing it to yourself? You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? The hospital volunteering you never did. The marketing job Derek doesn't know the details about. I saw your face tonight, Vanessa. You're drowning." She turned to face me. Tears welled in her eyes but didn't fall. "I didn't mean for it to get this far." "For what to get this far?" She opened her mouth to answer, but Derek's voice called from the living room. "You okay?" "Fine," she called back. Her voice was bright again. Controlled. "Be right there." She looked at me one last time. A look that said everything and nothing. Then she walked away. I left the party 20 minutes later. Told my parents I had an early flight. They believed me. They always believed what was easiest. But I didn't go to the airport. I checked into a hotel downtown and lay awake staring at the ceiling. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the target. Over the next 3 days, I stayed in town. Told myself I was visiting. Helping with wedding errands. But really, I was watching. My mother asked Vanessa about her work schedule. Vanessa said she'd taken time off. But when Derek mentioned a work call she supposedly had, the timeline didn't match. My father talked about visiting Vanessa's office. She said they were renovating and it wasn't a good time. And Derek started noticing too. I saw it in the way he looked at her. The questions that hung in the air unanswered. On the third night, Derek pulled me aside at a family dinner. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. We stepped out onto the back porch. The night air was cool. "I got a credit card statement yesterday. Almost $8,000. Charges I didn't recognize. Did you ask her about it?" She said it was wedding expenses. "But Marcus, we have a wedding account. This was a different card. One I didn't even know she had." He looked at me with eyes that reminded me of my younger self. But confused. Needing someone to tell him he wasn't crazy. "There's more," he said. "I called her office last week. Just to surprise her, you know? Maybe take her to lunch. And they said they don't have anyone by that name working there." I thought maybe I had the wrong department. But then I looked up the company website. She's not listed anywhere. The cold feeling in my stomach spread to my chest. How long has she said she's worked there? 6 months. Derek's hands were shaking. I don't know what to do. Love her. But I don't know if I even know her. I could have told him everything then. About the vase. The money. The bruise. I could have exposed every lie she'd ever told, watched her perfect world crumble the way mine had for years. But looking at Derek's face, I didn't see an enemy. I saw someone who loved her. Someone who was about to have his heart broken. To her I said, "Really talk to her. Don't accuse. Just ask. She needs help, Derek. Not judgment." He nodded slowly. "Tonight?" "Tonight." We went back inside. The family was laughing about something. Vanessa was in the center, radiant, performing. But I could see the cracks now. The way her smile trembled at the edges. The way she wouldn't quite meet Derek's eyes. Derek walked over to her. Whispered something. Her face went pale. They left together. Went upstairs to the guest room. And I sat on the couch next to my parents, listening to the muffled sound of voices rising above us. It started calm. Then louder. Then Vanessa was crying. Actual, broken crying. Not the controlled tears she used to manipulate. Real ones. My mother started to get up. I put my hand on her arm. "Let them talk," I said. 30 minutes later, Derek came down alone. His face was ashen. "I'm sorry," he said to my parents. "I need to go." He left. The door closed behind him with a finality that echoed through the house. Vanessa appeared at the top of the stairs. Her makeup was ruined. Her perfect facade gone. And in that moment, I saw my sister for the first time in 17 years. Not the golden child. Not the liar. Just a person who'd built a prison out of her own deceptions and finally run out of places to hide. "Mom," she said, her voice breaking. "I need to tell you something. For years, I'd waited for this moment. I'd imagined it would feel like justice. Like vindication. Instead, it just felt hollow. The living room had never felt smaller. My parents sat on the couch, holding hands like they were bracing for impact. I stood by the doorway, unable to move closer, unable to leave. Vanessa stood in the center of the room. Her arms wrapped around herself. Her voice barely above a whisper. I don't have a job. The words hung in the air. My mother's face crumpled. What? I lost it 6 months ago. Budget cuts. They let go of half the marketing department. I was going to tell you, but then Derek proposed and everyone was so happy and I just couldn't. My father leaned forward. So the wedding expenses. Credit cards. Vanessa's voice cracked. I kept telling myself I'd find something else before anyone noticed. That I'd get it under control. But the interviews didn't go well and the debt kept growing and I didn't know how to stop. My mother stood up. Sweetheart, we would have helped you. I know. Vanessa wiped her eyes. That's why I couldn't tell you. Because you would have helped. And then you'd know I wasn't who you thought I was. The silence that followed was suffocating. My father's voice was quiet. Tos, Vanessa? She looked at him. Then at me. Her eyes were red, defeated. Everything she whispered. The hospital volunteering. I did it once for a college application and never went back. The charity work I talk about. I donated $20 online. The old stories about my achievements. Half of them are exaggerated or just made up. My mother sat back down heavily. And Marcus. The room went still. Vanessa turned to face me fully. The vase. I broke it. I had friends over when you were at practice. Sarah knocked it off the mantel and I panicked. I told you I was sorry years later, but I never told Mom and Dad. My mother's hand went to her mouth. The money from Dad's wallet. I took it to buy concert tickets. I was going to pay it back, but then it turned up in the laundry and everyone forgot about it. My father's face had gone pale. And the bruise. Vanessa's voice broke completely. I went to a party I wasn't supposed to be at. I drank too much. I fell against a table. When I got home and you confronted me about sneaking out, I panicked. I showed them the bruise and said you pushed me. I let you go to counseling for anger issues you didn't have. I let everyone think you were violent. The tears were streaming down her face now. I made you the villain because I needed someone to be worse than me. Because as long as you were the problem, no one was looking at me. And I'm so sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. My parents turned to look at me. My mother was crying. My father's eyes were filled with something I'd never seen before. Shame. Marcus, my mother said. Oh God, Marcus. I didn't know what to say. For 17 years, I'd imagined this moment. The vindication. The apology. The acknowledgement that I wasn't crazy, wasn't the problem, wasn't any of the things they believed. But standing there, watching my sister fall apart, watching my parents realize what they'd done, I felt nothing like I thought I would. I wasn't triumphant. I was just tired. My father stood up. His voice was thick. We should have believed you. We should have seen it. God, Marcus, we should have protected you. You loved her, I said quietly. That's not a crime. But I needed you to love me too. My mother crossed the room and pulled me into a hug. She was shaking. I'm so sorry, she whispered over and over. I'm so sorry. I let her hold me. Let myself be held. Something I hadn't allowed in years. Vanessa sank onto the stairs, her head in her hands. The next few hours were a blur. My parents asked questions. Vanessa answered them. The lies went deeper than any of us realized. Not just about me. About everything. Her grades in college. Her friend groups. Relationships that overlapped. A pattern of deception that had been building for over a decade. My mother wanted to call Derek. Vanessa stopped her. He's done. And he should be. I don't deserve him. You need help, my father said. Real help. Vanessa nodded. I know. We'll find you a therapist, my mother said. We'll figure this out. But the words felt hollow. Like we were all going through motions because we didn't know what else to do. I left an hour later. Walked to my car in the early morning darkness. Vanessa followed me out. Marcus, wait. I turned. She stood on the porch, small and broken. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know how to forgive myself. But I need you to know that none of this was your fault. You didn't deserve any of it. I know. Do you? Because I spent 17 years making you doubt that. I leaned against my car. For years, I thought if you just admitted it, if everyone just knew the truth, I'd feel better. Like it would erase everything. But it doesn't work that way, does it? It doesn't. I don't hate you, Vanessa. I'm just tired. Tired of carrying the weight of your choices. Tired of defending myself. Tired of waiting for permission to be okay. She nodded, tears falling silently. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be someone who deserves your forgiveness, she said. Then do it for you. Not for me. I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I watched her standing there, alone in the driveway, until she disappeared from view. 3 months have passed since that night. Derek didn't come back. Last I heard, he moved to another city. Started over. I don't blame him. Vanessa's in therapy. Twice a week. My parents update me occasionally. She's working through things. It's slow. It's messy. But she's trying. My parents and I are rebuilding. They apologized more times than I can count. We have dinner once a month now. Video calls in between. It's not perfect, but it's honest. And that's more than we've ever had. Last week, Vanessa texted me. Just 2 lines. Thank you for not giving up on me. Even when I gave up on myself. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. I didn't do it for you. I did it because holding on to anger was killing me too. She replied with a single word. And somehow that felt right. People ask me if I got closure. I tell them I don't think closure is a moment. It's a choice you keep making. Every day, I choose not to let her lies define me. Every day, I choose to believe that I'm worth more than the stories people told about me. Vanessa's lies shaped my childhood. They stole years from me. But they don't get to shape my future. The truth came out. Not because I exposed her, but because lies have weight. Eventually, they collapse under themselves. You can't build a life on deception. Sooner or later, the foundation cracks. I didn't need revenge. I didn't even need an apology, really. I just needed to stop waiting for her to give me permission to be okay. So here's what I learned. You can't control what people say about you, but you can control whether you believe them. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is just stand still. Let the truth do its work. And walk away when it's done. They say the truth will set you free. It did. But not the way I expected. It freed me from needing her to be different. From needing my parents to erase the past. From needing anyone to validate my worth. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to my Reddit diaries for more real stories about family, betrayal, and healing. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? How did you handle it? I read every single comment. And remember, your story matters. Even if no one believed you then, I believe you now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.